I am going to hell for this, and I do not care. Back when I was growing up, I always seemed to float between two worlds. In school, I would be considered to be a quiet nerd that was left alone. At home, hung out with a pretty rough crowd and was always getting into trouble. Between the drinking, the fighting, the drugs, and other dumb shit, I always tried to keep those two worlds separate. I got bused to a different school due to being special ed, so keeping the two separate was pretty easy for the most part. There were at times some bleed over. At times I was in woodshop class and the style at the time was to have the Velcro straps hanging off the back of my high tops, and another student grabbed them, causing me to fall. He ended up in the hospital for catching a claw hammer in the face. Between having to deal with the psychological counseling and the trial, I decided to avoid this kind of petty crap in the future. I sent the message and it was heard loud and clear. I pretty much had the reputation of don't fuck with him. When he snaps, he is dangerous. As I cleaned up my drinking and drug use, I figured I would leave the violence as well. Not that I was not good at inflicting it on people, but quite the opposite. I was too good at it, and having fed the darkness within, the high was better than any drug. Fast forward some years, and I am attending a local community college. And while I am no longer running with the same violent crowd, but I still see them every now and then, I am taking some classes with my friend's little sister, and having seen her go from a bratty little girl to a woman, kind of made it like she was another younger sister to me. She had started dating a guy who I knew from reputation to be a real piece of shit from high school. This guy was a year younger than me, and the rumors floating around was the school did nothing about how he would grope females in the hallway because he was the star WR for the football team. He lost his scholarship to the state college due to his grades, but the rumor was he had a few rape allegations that were swept under the rug. I inform her of what I know about the guy, but she does not listen to me. After class, I approach the POS to inform him that his GF is someone I think of as a little sister, and to tread lightly, she attended a school function with pause, and then she was missing from all of her classes for the next week. So I drop off the notes at her parents' house. I found out POS had roofied her drink, took advantage of her at the function, and left her there under the bleachers for people to be found. To make matters even worse, he gave her a few STDs. The revenge on my part was I knew where he parked for classes every day. So I skipped class and waited for him to go return to his car to beat him down. Due to him driving an SUV, I knew he kept a broom in there for cleaning off his car for snow. I had taken a pair of brass knuckles, and I went to town on him. I grabbed the broom and carried him into the woods to stick that broom where the sun don't shine. I left him bent over a picnic table with the broom sticking out his ass like I just planted a flag. I stroll into the local pharmacy to pick up some hydrogen peroxide to clean off the blood, and I go visit her older brother at the prison to give him a heads up. I tell him what happened, what I did, and to keep an eye out for him on the inside. I must have a guardian angel, as the list of people who wanted him dead for doing similar things was quite long. I got questioned about him, but I gave them nothing and pointed them towards the people I suspected might have been victims of him in the past. The black hole revenge. I made a few inquiries into where this POS was going to be sent to once he got out of the hospital. Turns out he was going into one of the camps at the same prison the older brother was at. Even though it was a different unit, it was still close enough in the sphere of influence that he could be gotten to. I was given a few names to make contact with and drop off some cash for the commissary to grease a few wheels to get at POS. I figured that he would have been shanked and it would have been done with him. Turns out POS was gang raped by 10 guys, one of which infected him with HIV. They slit his rectum to make it wetter and to increase the possibility of infection. After doing all of the messaging, I was approached by someone who played a cell phone video of the whole thing before I went into class. Turns out he died of sepsis a few weeks later. The orderly was pocketing the antibiotics and pain pills. He was double dipping as he was paid to do this, and he sold off those pills as well. The only witness to my part of the revenge was now dead, and all that was left was trying to rebuild little sis. I know I am going to hell for this, but I do not care. Maybe the nightmares I had for years after this will be penance enough, but who knows? You bully me for 8 years, enjoy missing half your body. So, to start off, I was 14, straight a student and vengeful as vengeful can get, when this happened. When I was 6, new kid came to my school, while call him douchebag, and started picking on me, but I didn't really pay too much attention. Fast forward a couple of years, and in 11, the picking transformed into straight up bullying, calling me names, beating me up for being a nerd, being atheist, his family is Christian, stealing from me. He even hit me in the leg with a metal baseball bat. destroying my fibula and tibia. They're fine now. It got to the point where the popular kids ganged up on me and beat me up every day. This continued until that very day. We were leaving on a trip to the zoo. I was widely interested in animals, so I was excited. Douchebag must have seen this because he made my day a living hell. The time came, we got to the bears, and Douchebag came to me and whispered to me, "I'd love you being eaten alive by those things." Before we continue, they'll say that there was a 15-foot or so gap that separated the bridge we were standing on and the floor where the bears were. Back to the story. I backed off and waited for him to be distracted. I saw the opportunity, grabbed him by the legs and dropped him beside a bear. The bear must have been scared because he started mauling Douchebag. 2 other bears joined. We were evacuated immediately. I just recently heard that Douchebag survived, but is missing both his eyes, his nose, his left arm and both his legs. Nothing more. I signed my ex-boyfriend up for the Church of Scientology. I saw that it was a funny trend too. Sign people up for random email lists and spam them. But I decided to take this a step further, because he really burned me in the past. I went to our local Church of Scientology's website and saw where you could input your personal information to receive messages from the church. Since I had most of this information from our time being together, I filled it out under his name. I did this with a few more churches of Scientology as well. I thought that this would only be a minor inconvenience with a few puzzling, harmless emails, but it turned out to be much worse. Recently, I saw that he posted on his Instagram that he was deleting all of his social media due to privacy reasons. At first, I didn't think much of it, but after a while, I started to wonder if there was any connection to what I had put in the Church of Scientology's website. So out of curiosity, I later decided to bite the bullet and DM him on Instagram in the hopes that he hadn't deactivated his account. A few minutes later, he responded, saying that he needed a break from social media. Ultimately, he told me to not worrying about it, and that he was going to delete his Instagram 10K followers later that night. I figured I was off the hook. A few weeks later, I was with a mutual friend of ours, and she updated me on his situation. Apparently, him and his family had been contacted by the Church of Scientology. Supposedly, they actually expressed interest. The mutual friend said that she hadn't seen him in a while, and none of his friends had heard from him in over a month. She said that it seemed like he was cutting off everybody. I just received word that he's dropping out of school after the semester ends, and his family is moving to live with other church members. I know I technically signed him up for this, but I had no idea it would get this bad. He honestly deserved it after everything he did. I can't exactly state what he did in caution that this post would get removed. Just know it was pretty fucked up. And me and a friend of mine had to see a therapist. Cheating on me. Get HIV then. This is not my story. I just saw this on Facebook, and though this might fit here, so this story belongs to a Chinese man, I just translate it. English is not my first language, so please be kind to me. I'll put the Facebook link down below in the comment section. I've suffered for at least 6 months. Finally, I can push her into the darkest pit of hell. It's a long story, so let me light up a cigarette and tell you all about it. I met my girlfriend when we were on a same vacation tour back in 2006. The first time our eyes met, I've made a promise to myself that I have to make her my girlfriend. The process wasn't hard by any mean. I just poured my truest, deepest love out to her to make her moved by my true feelings. I loved her. I truly, really loved her. But due to my job, I had to travel a lot. Sometimes I would be away from home for 15 days to a month. About 6 months ago, I noticed she had been showing signs of a cheater. She's always tried to hide away from me when she was on her phone. Either if she was texting or calling someone, I just lay my eyes on her phone, and she would turn it off. I can almost confirm that she was cheating, but I didn't have any kind of evidence. I have an email account that had been logging in for a good while, but rarely used. And then one day, there were hotel bills sent to this email. I checked the emails and some other things, and found out there were some note lines about the bills. After that, there was nothing left to clarify. But one man's soul can't truly die when he haven't dead. Me and some friends had found out about the man she had been fricking with and the hotel's location. The first thing I felt when her cheating on me was confirmed was anger. I was furious, not a bit of heartbreaking. It is the feeling when you wanted someone to die. Gone, disappeared. I wanted her to suffer and die. So reality has proved that money can solve anything. I found the way to contact the other man, his WeChat. It's like Facebook for Chinese to be exact. I have friends that really talented, smart people, if I could tell. I made friend with a doctor back in August last year. I told him my story and what was my plan. Also sprinkled in a bit of you can have benefit out of this too. Of course I'll pay the money. He made up his mind for a few days, and then gave me contacts of some female patients that have HIV. There was no mention about the strict policy in the hospital about patients' privacy. Out of 3 patients I've met, only 1 agree. Most of the ones who have HIV haven't had a clean life. When you have the money, you really can control the devil himself. I gave her the other man's contact and an amount of fee, and required her in the shortest time she could give him HIV. This modern life make it really easy for a woman to sleep with a man. It only took her 5 days. I worried that only 1 night wasn't enough for him to have HIV, so I asked her to be his FWB for a while, and gave her 15.00 yuan to 150 USD.